Alright, so this video we're going to be talking about the matte stainless finish on the new Colt revolvers. I've been seeing a lot of people, especially on places like the Colt forum, talking about the matte stainless finish, saying things like, oh, why would Colt put this finish on their top of the line gun? This makes it look like a Taurus. This looks so cheap, blah blah blah. And you know, people are entitled to that opinion, I guess. If they think that the matte stainless finish looks cheap or looks like a Taurus, I guess they're entitled to that opinion. But the thing that I find kind of comical about the whole situation is that the same people that are knocking this finish and talking about how cheap it looks and how they can't believe Colt would put it on a flagship gun, they're the same people that are paying extra for guns like this. Your electroless nickel, your matte nickel, your Colt Guard finish. People who are paying extra to get these guns with this finish are the ones that are knocking this finish and saying, oh, it looks so cheap, it looks like a Taurus, blah blah blah. And so I just thought we would do a little video to kind of compare these two finishes, because they're nearly identical. I like them both. I've had several of the new Pythons and Anacondas in the shiny finish, and I sold them, and this is the one I've ended up with that I'm going to keep because I think this is a nice looking finish. It's the same reason I prefer this Trooper Mark V over one of the shiny nickel Trooper Mark Vs. And so we'll just zoom in and try to get a close-up of what the finish actually looks like. So there is your matte stainless finish. You can see it's got almost a slight texture to it. Little places, like little tiny dots that are shinier than others. But overall, I think it's a very nice looking finish. Right up here you can see that texture that I'm talking about. If we move over to the satin nickel, electroless nickel, whatever you want to call it, you see it's the exact same. It's got that same texture to it. The only difference in these two finishes is the satin nickel maybe has a slight more yellow cast to it, while the stainless is slightly more blue. But as far as the quality of the finish, the uniformity of the finish, they're nearly identical. There's your satin nickel. You see that texture on it very clearly right there. Here is your matte stainless. You see it's identical texture. Got some fingerprints on it because I shoot this gun fairly often. But I just wanted to show these two finishes beside each other and say, you know, to the people that are knocking the matte stainless finish, that's a fair, you know, freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. But you look kind of silly if you're on the one hand paying extra for this satin nickel and then knocking the nearly identical matte stainless and saying, oh, it makes it look cheap, it makes it look like a Taurus. By that line of logic, your old e-nickel and satin nickel Colts also look cheap and like a Taurus. So, just thought I would make this video showing off these two finishes. We'll do one more close-up on both of them. There's your matte stainless. Kind of see the texture it's got going on. And then here's your satin nickel. Identical. To me, these are both very nice looking guns. I tend to prefer this type of finish to the shiny polished stainless. I still like the polished stainless, I think it looks nice, but I just think these look a little better because to me they look like the e-nickel, the satin nickel. And when Colt came out with the first matte stainless guns, the Pythons, then they came out with the 4-inch Anaconda. I told myself whenever they come out with the matte stainless 4-inch Anaconda, that's what I'll be getting. And as you can see here, that's what I ended up with. And it's an exceptional gun. These usually can be found cheaper than these old electroless nickel guns. And these new Colts are better, in my opinion, in nearly every way. With something like a Trooper Mark V, you know, you're talking a cast hammer, cast trigger, coil mainspring, all that stuff. These new ones, at least on the Pythons and Anacondas, you got a forged hammer, forged trigger, you got a V-spring action, very minimal MIM parts on the inside, and on the actions, there's no comparison which one's smoother. The new ones blow these old coil spring guns out of the water in every way. Now if you're comparing the new ones to an old Python, it gets a little closer there. But if you're talking about the Trooper Mark III, Mark V, King Cobra, Boa, that line of guns, the old Anaconda would also fall into this line of guns. It's not even close. The new one's better in every way. Only weaknesses on the new ones, such as the rear sight, are easily rectified by getting either a Wilson Combat or an Eliasson rear sight, which is very nice. But at some point in the future, we'll do a more in-depth video just in general on the old Colts versus the new Colts, or the old Colts versus the new Colts and how their actions work and all that. I just thought I would take some time today to kind of jokingly call out the people who are dogging on these matte stainless guns but then ponying up the extra cash for an identical looking gun. So that's all for today. We'll catch you in the next one.